You can hear me. Greetings everyone, welcome to an all-new edition of the Golden Standard, the official comic book review series of the Golden Age 1942, Blount County's #1 source for comics, gaming, collectibles, and so much more. We're located at 316 Court Street, right across the street from the courthouse in the historic WGAP radio building in downtown Maryville, Tennessee. And we're continuing with our summer reading list series here on the Golden Standard, where we take a look at some of the really cool graphic novels and trade paperbacks that we have available right here in the store. We're going to review some of those, and today we're taking a look at DC's Green Lantern Earth 1. Written by husband and wife team Corinna Bechko and Gabriel Hardman, with art by Gabriel Hardman, colors by Jordan Boyd, and letters by Simon Boland. Green Lantern Earth 1 is part of DC's line of Earth 1 graphic novels, which seeks to tell stories of some of their most classic and iconic characters outside the main continuity of DC Comics. In doing so, they let the artists and writers working on these books to take small creative freedoms with these characters and put a fresh new spin on them. So if you think you know Hal Jordan's origin story, here's Earth 1's take on it. The story takes place in a not-too-distant future where former NASA astronaut Hal Jordan has spent the last 10 years in space mining asteroids for Ferris Galactic. There's an underlying reason why Jordan has been in space for so long. Years ago, he helped develop a technology that he thought was supposed to be used for defense, but ended up being used for the slaughter of millions of people. So riddled with guilt, Jordan spent the last 10 years in space, far, far away from the people of Earth. Until one day he stumbles across a buried spaceship containing a dead alien being inside who is wearing a peculiar ring, as well as a strange glowing lantern inside the ship. And as soon as Hal puts on the ring, his adventure begins, and he's flung into the far depths of space, where he eventually meets Kilowog. So the story's kind of familiar, and we find out that the Green Lanterns were once a prominent police force in space, and they were created by the Guardians, but then they were eventually wiped out by the Guardians' other creation, the Manhunters. Since then, the Manhunters have terrorized and mercilessly ruled the galaxy, but there are still Green Lantern rings that are out there in space and in the possession of others. So Kilowog and Hal set out on a mission to find the others that possess the rings so that they can put a stop to the Manhunters once and for all. The artwork is very beautiful in this. I know a lot of times I compare comics to movies, but the artwork in this has a very cinematic look to it. Hardman and Boyd do an exceptional job of really kind of displaying the ring's power in their artwork. I mean, there are panels where Kilowog and Hal just look like bright green comets flying through the sky in outer space. It's just really amazing. The costume design is really fresh. What I find interesting is that the Green Lantern costumes aren't generated by the ring. They're just the clothes that each character is wearing relative to their home world. For instance, Hal Jordan's Green Lantern costume is just the spacesuit that he wears throughout the length of the book. The only thing that the ring generates is the emblem on their chest, which is kind of like a badge, which sort of, to me, conveys that space cop kind of idea that's relative to Green Lantern. Like I said, these books put their own spin on these iconic characters. One kind of difference we have is the Green Lantern power rings. They're not really, their powers, and they've said this before, the powers are more science-based. They're not really powered by the spectrum color of will. They're powered themselves, but the lanterns can sort of manipulate that power using their will, if that makes any sense. And the rings don't choose their wearers. The wearers choose to wear the rings, and it's kind of up to them whether or not they want to accept this power and whether or not that they can wield this power to the best of their advantage. I thought the writing was great in this. I think one of its strongest components is that it really brings the characters to life in this book. For instance, there's a character named Vekatrana that Hal and Kilowog come across, and he sort of gives them the backstory as to what went wrong with the Manhunters. And there's just something about the dialogue that character had that they wrote for him that really sort of brought him to life, and you really got these little kind of clues as to who he was, and just added a lot of intrigue to that character. And I was kind of wish that we would have seen a little bit more of Vekatrana. He was probably my second favorite character in this, and specifically because of that writing, just the way that they wrote for him, which was really kind of cool. Writing and artwork aside, my favorite thing about Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1 is its story. And its story and themes of overcoming shortcomings and guilt, and having those things weighing you down. I mean, you got Hal Jordan. Here's a guy who's just riddled with guilt over what he's done, and he spent the last 10 years in space running away from it. He finds himself in this hopeless situation with people constantly telling him, there's nothing you can do about this. You can't do anything about this. These Manhunters, they're here to stay, and they mean business, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. He ignores those voices. He ignores his own voices, his own inner voices of self-doubt, and he resolves to do the right thing. And he pushes on. He keeps on doing it. In doing so, he inspires a whole slew of other people to do the same thing. But just a really kind of awesome story of, you know, just sort of the human spirit and resolve. And it's just, I don't know, it gave me goosebumps reading this thing. Like I said, I love what they've done here with the artwork, the writing, but most of all, I mean, they've put a story in here that that can inspire a little bit, and that's kind of what these characters are all about. They're all about, you know, they're all about the best in us, and I think this Green Lantern Earth 1 is a prime example of that. Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1 I would recommend for young adults and up. This is a great book for anybody, especially a fan of Green Lantern. You're going to love this book. There's a lot of familiar characters, a lot of members of the Corps that you'll spot in this book, and a lot of elements of the Green Lantern sort of mythology that's there. But it's also, like I said, it's a fresh take, and it's accessible to anyone that's maybe never read Green Lantern before. This is a great jumping off point to kind of delve into that world and check out those characters. Another really cool thing about this book is you do get sort of a concept sketch book in the very back there. We'll kind of flip through that and show that to you. So you get like a little, kind of a cool kind of bonus thing you get right there, and also some stuff about the author. So, and we do have it here in the store, as well as a few of the other DC Earth 1 books. We have some of those in the store as well. They've done Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. If you can't find the volume that you're looking for, please let us know and we will order that for you. And so this has been another edition of the Golden Standard. Be sure to tune in next week where we'll have another trade paperback or graphic novel to add to your summer reading list. Until then, we hope to see you in the store. Have a great week. Bye. For instance, Hal Jordan's costume is just his... Let me do that again.
You have to redo the video.
I don't have to read a whole video, just a little bit of this part. All right.